My name is Ryan Tamori. Welcome to another episode of the Pit Press Live. We're happy to have you. May 14th, 2024. A lot to get to today. Exciting episode. I mean, exciting adjective, however you want to view it. But hey, we're happy to have you watching. Chime in on YouTube X. Join the conversation. We don't have a full house tonight, so I can't make that joke that I beat to the ground. A lot to get to today. The news gods have blessed us the last 2-3 weeks. Every time Tuesday and Thursday since we've started going live over the last month, we have been blessed with UNM basketball news. So happy for that. We have to get to that. We're going to talk about some NIL stuff. Another transfer, as I was saying, transfer in. No more scholarships. I think on the UNM men's basketball team. An official date for a marquee matchup, just not for UNM, just not for St. John's, but for the nation. We'll get to that. Going to talk some NIL and FanDuel Sports, one of the major sports books in the country that we don't have here in New Mexico, has released a season over-under win total for the UNM football team. We'll get to that. Plus NIL talk around players who around the Mountain West Conference, and specifically players who have played in the conference, and then some head coaching news. So we'll all get to that. It's a busy episode. As always, since we're doing it live, very odd given the month of May. So I will get to my panel. And before I do that, of course, we want to thank our sponsors, Hydro Bar, Brazo Homes, Affordable Solar, Turquoise Desert Tap Room. We appreciate you guys that make this show possible. Again, follow it. Join us on the conversation on YouTube, Twitter, X. And I'm going to plug our website. Visit our website at thepitpressnm.com. I'm hoping to get more writing up there. As always, I'm joined by a two-time offensive state lineman, San Juan Mendoza, and the St. Pius Sartans. He played for Damian Segura, got an MBA from UNM, and I don't know, MVP of a Filipino men's rec league over the age of 40 in the Bay Area, which I think is his most coveted prize. Mr. Richard Thompson, how you doing, man?
Not 40 yet, sir. I'm still under that digit. It's 35 and over. That's really when you start to lose your athletic ability. I am learning as I am nearing 38 now. 35 does make a big difference, but I'm happy to be back talking about some guys that can really play sports here and have a chance to make some money doing it, unlike the three of us. But let's get it going, man. Happy to be back on.
I'm sorry. I knew it was 35. I was trying to make the punch joke. Never mind. It didn't land. I had Del Taco for lunch today and Panda Express for dinner. That was my day. So I should probably go get my cholesterol checked. Hey, he's the voice of the Western New Mexico Mustangs, and a Lobo fan since 1970. His name is Mr. Ed Nunez. Ed, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I think you're right. We've been blessed with a lot of unexpected transfer news, and the one that we're going to talk about in a few minutes. It's exciting. It's exciting news. So you're right. We've been blessed and been lucky, and the comments I've received for some people were a couple of people that listen and watch were saying, "Hey, they're glad they have Lobo news that we're talking about that." So I'm looking forward to talking about it.
Awesome. Glad to have you guys on. We're missing Jacob Neff. He's on vacation. Eric has given birth. Well, he hasn't given birth. He's had his second child, so he's been busy. So shout out to those guys. And Nick hopefully can join us Thursday. But Rick, I didn't hit you with this. Richard. Sorry about that. I let you down, and I fumbled on the joke. Thank you, Tommy boy. All right, we'll get into it. I think the most pressing news of the day, and I have his name written down, Georgia Tech transfer. Oh, whoops. I as I did on my radio show, butchering UFC fighters' names. That was a segment. Ibrahima Sako. He is a Georgia Tech transfer. On3 Sports announced it today. He's 6'6", 226-pound sophomore. He averaged 11 minutes, 2 points, 3 rebounds. He's a wing player who is one of the top players out of Canada. A lot of international flair on the University of New Mexico Lobos. I don't know if you want to call them the 2000 Spurs. Athletic and physical player. Rick, what do you know about him? I'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, from his college play, we don't really know much. I think he only played 20 games last year, about 11 minutes a game. Standing at 6'6", like you mentioned, 225. He is a strong, already physical specimen at 19. It looks like he's more of a slasher at this point in his offensive development. I think he only shot maybe a handful of threes in those 11 minutes a game last year. So it's kind of hard to judge his 3-point shooting at this level. But he definitely looks like a guy that can get to the rim and finish. But I think his strength, based on the numbers and limited film I saw, is on the defensive end and being able to really get out, deflect balls, make it hard on guys on the wing to get up shots. And I think he's more of, and this is just my opinion based on the little I know, I think he'd be more, I don't know if he'll get minutes right away, but at that size, I think he can defend in the Mountain West. But I don't know about his scoring ability right off the bat. That might still be something to develop, but definitely another great pickup for UNM. Someone that was recruited highly by schools like Oregon, Xavier, and BYU before deciding to go to Georgia Tech. And I think this is the third player from Africa, I believe Guinea, if that's how you pronounce it. You guys can correct me, is where he's from originally. So just a great story for this young man, and looking for a new opportunity here. Ed, do you know anything else about this guy?
No, you know what? Just what Eric sent today, as far as a video and the story that Eric sent, that he speaks fluent French and came here to the United States and didn't speak a lot of English. Traveled to quite the road to get here, and he played a couple of games in front of some NBA executives. I did read that. Comes highly touted, but I think one of the things that I saw just briefly on that clip, he does have some bounce. The 6'3" and D guy, we keep talking about that. They needed that. Quentin Webb is still on the roster here. Now, this guy's raw. He's got potential, I think. You're right. We may not see it right away, but what I saw and what I read, I think this is a guy that I'm kind of surprised he transferred. I mean, it seemed like the coach over there, Damon Stoudemire, was happy that he was there, but you never know these days with the transfer portal what's going to happen. So I think it's a great pickup. I think there's, Akili, I think I don't know if that's the name, but between those two, you got a 6'10" guy, and then you got a 6'6" guy. Remember what Coach Pitino said? His goal was to get longer and taller, and they did with the last two pickups, and then the kid from Arizona and Milicic coming in. They've got 6'9", 6'9", 6'6", 6'10". So he met his goal there. He wanted to get taller, and I think this guy here. Again, it's potential. It's raw. I always say with guys like that, you can see the blood coming down their arm. They're very raw. But I think what I saw on just a quick clip, I think he's got a lot of potential. I'm very excited about his addition to UNM roster. I still keep wondering, what does it mean for Quentin Webb? You're right, Rick. He may not play a lot right away, but I don't think they're bringing him in. They're going to develop him for sure. So I think too with Coach Pitino, they have a hole in the lineup there with Toppin, and did they replace that at 6'9" with a 6'6" guy and a 6'10" guy? Maybe not, but I think Coach Pitino is bringing in players we can be excited about and look forward to next season for sure.
Eric cut some highlight from us. Hopefully there's no music on this, so I didn't play it before getting on, so kudos to me not doing my job. Let me see if we can talk over it, but here's some highlights of Sacco. And perfect, can talk over it. Excellent rebounder and defender, high level of athleticism. Again, played in 20 games, averaging only 11 minutes, scored points in 12 of his 20 games with a season high of 13 at Notre Dame. Notre Dame wasn't that good, and 6 at Louisville. So he was beating up on guys at schools that weren't that good, I think. 8 rebounds against UMass Lowell. UMass Lowell was a very, very good mid-major, and high of AC, and he had an ACC high 7 on February 21st against Clemson. And he went to school in Ontario. So the best Canada is the French Canada. So here's some highlights of him again, against Notre Dame. I don't know. It seems like a really small sample size for this guy, but I don't know. When I see 6'6" and his size and his strength and his athleticism, I think
Yeah,
it's very important for this basketball team. Go ahead, Rick.
I think there must be something if those schools were recruiting him. I saw he also played at one of the top Nike camps in high school. So people have definitely seen his potential, and I'm glad that the Lobos had this pickup. I think not someone I had on my radar or that we've heard of recently being someone the Lobos could pick up. So someone that was recruited that highly definitely should be able to make an impact, hopefully, in the Mountain West.
Going to the comment section, Ronnie Chavez looks like Malachi McQuatch, maybe just a little more muscle. Did I say that right?
McQuatch,
McQuatch.
Malawatch.
That's right. I forgot about him. Man, my
you know what?
names and pronunciations. Go ahead, Ed. Sorry.
I'll tell you one thing. Hey, that you know what, Ronnie Chavez, kudos to you, because that's a great. McQuatch Malawatch was solid, darn good player. I think sometimes you forget about players. Shoot, that guy was one of the leading scorers in Lobo history, I believe, and he's down the line there. But McQuatch Malawatch was tough, good ball player.
Why is that name not ringing a bell for me, Ed? Did he play here in the late
Yes, he did.
2000s?
Yeah.
Was he under Weir?
2018, 19, McQuatch Malawatch, around there, 21, 20, 21, yeah, around there, yeah. McQuatch Malawatch was a tough ball player, good player.
I'm trying not to read every comment, but I'm going to read this one. Eric Markham, good evening. Did you see that Toppin measured at 6'6" at the combine? We will get to that. I didn't even mention that in opening. We have some draft combine to get to with UNM players. And Jaelen House impressing people at the G League Elite Combine, I believe is what it's called. So there's that. But we're touching on let me get his name again. Ibrahima Sacco. Again, transferring from Georgia Tech. I'm trying to make the show lively. It's very hard when you have to read somebody's name. I apologize to him if I mispronounced it. No disrespect. I think it's a really good pickup. I think Richard Pitino knows what he's doing. I see him as a showman and a salesman. This is what he does well. And, what did I see online? Somebody called it the Lobo Renaissance under Richard Pitino. So I don't know. I mean, again, I said it last year. They hadn't won anything. I'm from Missouri. You got to show me. But I think he's pieced together a nice team. I don't, chemistry is probably in there, but Rick, do you have any final thoughts or Ed on final thoughts on him?
Not on him, but when I'm just looking at the overall makeup of the Lobos roster here now with 0 scholarships left and just kind of looking at what I'm projecting at the depth here, I think a lot of it this next season's going to hinge on Donovan Dent's health. And if he goes out time like he did this last season, it could be more painful this year since he will probably be the key player and there won't be those experienced guards to step in and fill his role. I was kind of thinking the Lobos might sign another guard with this final, like not more of a ball handling guard, I should say, with this final spot here. But I think they have so many options now at the wing and forward positions. It's just going to be interesting to see who earns the minutes, right? Because when I look at it, almost all of these guys can compete and probably have a chance to earn significant minutes. All of the scholarship players, I think, have a chance to earn minutes next year based on just what we're seeing here. So I think it's a great roster moving forward, and should probably be a surplus of NIL money, I would think, with the foreign players that they've signed in Philly B. And I don't know if this gentleman also counts as foreign, but I would believe Ibrahima also isn't probably taking a lot of NIL money. So maybe that can be stored up and saved for down the road finances. So I think they're in a good shape looking forward to next season with the way the team's made up.
And we're going to get into that later in the show, depending on how long we talk. Great Osobor, who's not American born, he's English. His NIL deal, I'm still confused by NIL. It just, I don't know. It just baffles my mind. Ed, do you, listening to what Rick said about the roster, do you have anything I feel like that was indirectly meant for you, because I feel like that's something you touch on.
you got Washington as a guard, the other guard. So Dent, but I think we've said this. Donovan Dent is the key to this whole season, and I think the Jamal Mashburn, he had a great career as a Lobo. I think it was the best thing for everyone that he moved on. That way, there's no questions with Mash coming back saying I need my shots or I'm not getting enough shots. The team is Donovan Dent's unequivocally, no question about it. So I'm excited about this latest edition. Now, when we had a question last week about the chemistry and how's it going to be, we don't know. We said this last summer, Ryan. I think when we had Mustafa Amzil on and Mushila on, we had both of them on, and they were both just getting acclimated to New Mexico. Especially Isaac Mushila had just got here. They were both very gracious when we talked to him. Same thing with Mustafa Amzil. They had no idea. There was a lot of pressure on Amzil early, and we saw he didn't perform well. After a few games, he started finding the shooting stroke, and he performed the way they thought he would. So I think coming in, these signees are exciting. They've got the bounce. Eric mentioned that. Eric Moulton mentioned that. So I think the athleticism and something we can be excited about to look forward to. When Toppin left, when a couple of weeks ago, when we saw the that he had transferred, I think it took the air out of the program for a little bit. It's like we're just hoping he didn't leave, and then when he did on the last day, I think people kind of were like, man, just holding their breath that Donovan Dent didn't transfer because he had one day left to do it. The people he's added since, that Coach Pitino has added, and then Rick, you mentioned they're in good shape with the NIL. I think they've done. I'd give him an A+ or A- at least. What he's done. So I'm very pleased with what they've been able to the recruits. And Rick, you mentioned this guy's under the radar. We didn't know anything about this guy. So I think they've done a great job with the NIL and the recruiting. I'm looking forward to it again, though. The chemistry, things like that, we don't know until they're on the floor together. But the key guy there is Donovan Dent, who gets people involved. With this new recruit, this guy he gets up. There's another rim runner for Dent, another lob guy. So I think that helps UNM's offense too. So you added some athleticism, some spring, some bounce, a 3-and-D guy. I'm all for it.
Paul Bonilla, do we start 3 guards again?
I think there's a lot of options there, right? I think starting at point, we all know it's Dent. And then at the 2-guard spot, I'm looking at CJ Nolan, the transfer that we got, I believe, was it from North Texas? And, or you can say True Washington is the 2 and he's the 3. But at this point, I think at the 3, you're looking at either Washington, Philly B, or possibly if Sacco works his way up the depth chart here, I could see him playing 3 more than a 4 in my eyes. Some people were acting like he was a big man, but when I watch him play, I don't really see him as a post player. And then, maybe Amzil could even play the 3 if they decide to start him there instead of the 4. So I think there's a ton of options at the 3 and at the guard spot. So it might be a lot of changes, I think, in the early season. Like Ed's saying, the chemistry and the roles are yet to be determined until we determine what each player and these new guys really bring. I don't know if we know what the starters are going to be. There's the 3-guard option, I think, is definitely something that could be used with Nolan and Washington starting alongside Den, if you consider that 3 guards. But if we're just looking at who we overall, the losses we had overall this year, I'll just summarize of Jaelen House, Jamar Baker, Mushila, Mashburn, Forsling, Toppin. And if you want to count it, we lost John Tonje after 2 days. But on the other side, the pickups were Millet.
He blew off UNM.
Philly B from Arizona, Daniel Thomas, the freshman, Atiki from BYU, Ibrahim Sacco, and also Jovan Millie, I'll just call him. So quite a different roster, right? But I think the thing is there's 3 or 4 core players, right, with Washington, Amzil, Nelly, and Dent that all have the chemistry that I don't think a lot of other Mountain West teams are going to have. And that's what makes me excited most about this team, is not just the new additions, it's the existing players that we kept.
It refers back to last year, kind of in the summer. I think it's a pretty good, I think I mentioned it earlier, it's pretty good what Pitino's done. I think a lot of these guys, just the nature of college basketball and college football and that said a lot. I just think I'm not an X's and O's guys with basketball, as I always say. I just like watching and losing money on college basketball. But it just seems like Richard Pitino has put together another pretty formidable team. If you are new to the show, I don't praise UNM. Very objective when it comes to UNM. I did say last year, Ed, and I think you remember this, on paper, the 2023-2024 team, to me, it was Sweet 16 or bust. And I know a lot of people are going to come in here and say, well, I'm going to get in a lot of trouble with this. I know that they hadn't won the Mountain West Conference tournament in a while, and had they not won it, it looked like they weren't in the tournament. I don't know. It acted like they won the World Cup in Spain with the Mountain West Conference title. To me, they shit the bed in the NCAA tournament. I mean, getting housed by 22 when you were a favorite and getting a lot of national attention. I think it's the same for me personally. I think it's the same thing going forward in 2024 and 2025. Again, I'm getting much kudos to what Richard Pitino has done. I think he's built a formidable program. People are looking at UNM again and have looked at UNM again. And I think there's a little bit of a bullseye. But with what I just said, I can't not see them not being preseason number one. I just can't. Just from what I've seen around the conference, I think they will be picked to win the Mountain West Conference. And I'm sure, depending on what happened, Donovan Dent might be preseason conference player of the year. I think they're going to get a lot of accolades as we get to September and October and the beginning of the season. I just don't see what I've seen around the Mountain West. I haven't been that impressed. I think Brian Dutcher will probably reload with San Diego State, but I think that it's probably UNM's to lose as of May 14th, 2024. Reddit commenter about Sacco said he needs a translator. If that's true, who knows? I mean, that doesn't stop Shohei Ohtani. I don't know what that means, but anyway, switching gears again. Georgia Tech transfer.
Yeah, let me just make one comment there, Ryan, about what you said. I think the question was asked: are they going to start three guards? Now, Coach Pitino, you said it. They got housed in the NCAA tournament by a bigger, longer, more athletic team. He's up.
A team I think they could be. A team I think they could have beaten. I'm sure if they play 10 times, they might split. I didn't mean to interrupt you there. Go ahead.
Yeah, you know what? I kind of don't agree, but that's me. I don't agree with that. I thought they, I'm just saying, I thought they had a chance. They were favored, but you look at the game, Clemson, they were leading the whole game. I think UNM got to within 8. That was it. I think Clemson was just a better team. So he said, we need to get more athletic. We need to get taller. He did. So is he going to start three guards again? I don't see that. I don't see it myself, because that's not what won for you. It didn't win when it counted. I need to get taller. They couldn't play a lot of zone because they got three guards out there. They didn't play a lot of zone because he's worried about rebounding out of his zone with three guards. I don't see it. I don't see him starting three guards. He's got the options. These other players give him different options and to put different lineups on the floor. So you might see three guards, on the floor at a time. You also see, Secco and maybe Webb out there. I think you're going to see a lot of different lineups. And, we didn't even mention Cade Dotson, who's coming in. I think the problem is when they sign players, and Rick, you mentioned CJ Nolan. Heck, I forgot about him, man. Because we start zeroing in on Secco, Achille, Atiki Ali Atiki, Milovic, and then we're like, oh shoot, man, what about Dotson? What about? So I think he's got a lot of different options here. I would say he's not going to start three guards. That's not what won last year. It didn't win when they needed it to win. That didn't win. They had some success. They won the Mountain West tournament. They went to the NCAAs, and as you mentioned, Ryan, got housed. Man, that didn't win. So I would say this at this point, no, they won't start three guards. That's just what I think, though. He's got a lot of different options, and they can be interchangeable and flexible. So we'll see.
The reason, and Rick, if the reason I said they split, I mean, there was a point during the season where Clemson didn't look good. I think they got a red hot Clemson team. I'm sure they play again. That's a pretty bold statement on my part. I probably pulled that out of my ass. But the reason I'm more adamant about them, the season wasn't a failure. Again, looking at the bracket and seeing my alma mater there, tuning in on Friday at 1:00 Mountain Time and them being on, what was it, True TV playing Clemson and seeing UNM in a jersey on the floor with March Madness. It was cool. It had been forever. But you look at a team like San Diego. I mean, Utah State advanced this year. I know Boise State's never won the NCAA tournament game. I just think where the bar is set, the bar is not set for Mountain West Conference titles. I think it's great. I think this program at this point, with a big name like Richard Pitino, I think it's a Sweet 16 or Elite 8 appearance. And I always play the clip from Major League where Tom Berenger goes, well, I guess there's only one thing left to do, and that's win the whole expletive thing. That's just kind of how I feel. But Rick, you were shaking your head as I pulled that right out of my butt.
No, you're right. There was a point in the season where Clemson was not too hot. It's just like Ed was saying, the overall length of Clemson really bothered the Lobos defensively in that game, and the double teams on Den and things of that nature just bothered the smaller guards. So I think Ed is making a good point. I think if you were able to start someone like a Philly B at the 3 who's 6'9" with 2 posts, he can also handle the ball. That definitely changes the game against someone like Clemson when you can see over the defenders, unlike someone like Mash or House that can't see over those 6'6", 6'7" wings that Clemson had. So both points by both of you made were good.
Here you go. Is it an accident that Bing Bong rhymes with Ding Dong? Maybe, maybe not. I appreciate you listening, though. By the way, the Knicks are up 31.
That series is crazy because the other night, Indiana took it to them, and now and New York looked really beat up, tired. Now but I'll tell you one thing, Ryan, you're a Knicks fan. I love that Oregon at the Garden. That's an iconic place. I love to watch the games in Madison Square Garden, and I think the league is better when they're better. They haven't been good for a while, but I like their team. I just wish Robinson, OG Aganobi, whatever his name is, and Julius Randle were all out there, and injuries happen. But I think they've got a good core there. I really do.
I thought they were a much better team. I watched them down the stretch because, I pick and choose with football, college football, the NFL, college basketball in November, and I watch hockey. So I knew the Thunder were good, and I knew the Timberwolves were good, and I figured Denver would be good. But down the stretch, when I saw that they were actually tied for, the first three, spots, that was pretty impressive and cool. But I don't know where I was going with that. But yeah, I think the Knicks I was watching them down the stretch, and I think they're a much better team than I had even given credit for. So there you go, Jimmy Hester. Me shitting on one of the teams I actually follow. It's just how I live my life.
Speaking of the Garden, though, don't you have some news?
That's where I was going with that. God, good. Bless you, Rick. Whoops. No, that's not what I wanted. Patino, I'll give you some. Oh my God, Pavarotti. Announced finally. We knew it was coming. UNM will play St. John's on Sunday, November 17th, per John Rothstein of CBS Sports. I'm very excited. Going to that game, regardless if I have a press pass or not, because I have family in Central New Jersey, so I'm going out. It's the fourth meeting between the two of them. I did not know that. I think first I'll get your thoughts, and Ed, I'll go to you. Your thoughts on them going to play St. John's in the Garden? I mean, I think a lot of people here are excited for that. And then the Patino name.
Well, you know what, as I mentioned, I think it's a great place, and then they're going to hype the heck out of that game between, Richard and Rick Pitino. So yeah, I think it's so I think a lot of things. New Mexico won the Mountain West, got in the tournament, and they went out first round, but they're reloading, and so next year, Coach Richard Pitino stayed. There's going to be that little sidebar that he almost went back to Louisville where his dad coached. You're going to hear that. So I think it's great for the program. Great, great exposure playing in New York. back in the day, way back in the day before even I was born, New Mexico lost in the NIT in 1964. 3,000 fans waited for him for the Lobos here at the airport. That started Lobo Mania. And then they actually played in the NIT finals in 1989, losing to St. Louis. So, they don't have a lot of history there at Madison Square Garden. But, gosh, who wouldn't be excited about that? And, Ryan, man, I'm jealous that you're getting to go to that game, man. That's going to be awesome. What an atmosphere. And I'm hyped. And we had said this, too. We wanted New Mexico to hype their schedule up. And there it is, a game against St. John's and Pitino versus Pitino. Coach Pitino, Rick Pitino played with Iona here a couple of years ago. This is a little bit different. The Garden is the Garden. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's great.
I'm going to go to this comment. ESPN game, no. Because the ESPN does not broadcast Big East and Mountain West Conference games. It'll probably be a CBS Sports or Fox Sports 1 game. It's on a Sunday during the NFL season. So it will take a back seat. Just an FYI there. Rick, your thoughts about this game? I mean, I'm excited.
It'll be tough to compete with the NFL to get viewers, but I know we'll still have it on a second screen. When you look at St. John's, they just picked up number 1 ranked transfer from Seton Hall, that being Kadary Richmond, and pairing him with Utah transfer Davian Smith, who just transferred to St. John's as well. They're going to have one of the most exciting backcourts really in the country. And Pitino just brought in some great talent. I've always been a fan of his since he was a coach at Kentucky and then on to the Celtics. Excited for the game, and it'll be a big game for the Lobos, hopefully one they can pull in and boost their strength of schedule when it matters, when they come to March and looking at that type of analytics.
Kadary Richmond is a phenomenal guy. I find it very funny that he's at Seton Hall and just going across the river. Because, that's Seton Hall. I mean, other than Rutgers, Seton Hall's a Big East rival. But that backcourt, and David, if you watched any Pac-12 after dark, Devion Smith is a very, very fast guard. He's a lot of fun to watch. So I think that's, I don't know, how good, again, chemistry, a lot of people can argue that St. John's should have been in the tournament and Seton Hall. Seton Hall won the NIT. And Shaheen Holloway there, who, it's not that I went to Rutgers, but it's like sacrilegious to, root for Seton Hall. I like watching Seton Hall. Not to mention one of our good friends is, as I always mention, is a Seton Hall alum. So I call him the Seton Hall. They're not the Seton Hall Pirates. They're the Seton Hall Fighting. Tim Chavez is. I mean, I just think, I don't know. I think this is a really good look for UNM. I'm curious with this VCU and St. John's matchup. I wonder if St. John's is going to come here. I don't know if there's any more reporting on that. I haven't seen anything. But if there would be, other than that tournament, in Palm Springs, if Richard Pitino has anything else up his sleeve, I'm hoping that he can nab another big time school. I think playing anybody in the Big East is a good thing, given what the conference was last year and kind of getting snubbed. Funny that we're on a Mountain West Conference podcast. I would just hope maybe, he can nab somebody else on the schedule. I don't know. I'm very excited. I keep saying that. I don't know. It's very cool because it's the two places I grew up in. And my cousin Steven Glogolshevsky, who's from Staten Island, got his undergrad, master's, and PhD from St. John's in what? I don't know. And now he works in Newark, New Jersey for Rutgers nursing, or at least last time I talked to him, he still did. So it's all in the family in this one, kind of for me, just like the Patinos, except Steven and I don't coach basketball. I'm going to take a quick commercial break. We'll come back, and then we're going to talk about the combine, the draft combine and the G League combine, because I think I'm getting some comments that a lot of people are looking to talk about that. So we'll get to that. We'll be right back.
Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
Welcome back to the Pit Press Live. My name is Ryan Tamori. I'm joined by Richard Thompson and Ed Nunez. We find ourselves in May talking Lobo basketball. And we're talking more Lobo basketball. The draft combine for the G League. What is it? The Elite G League combine. And then the NBA draft combine. I take the Jay Moore comedian route on the combines. I don't know. Don't care. I feel like kind of the I don't know, the Ryan Leaf factor, or the guy who got hit in the head with the ball at the NFL combine. I don't know. Just watching a bunch of men who run around in tights. But from a UNM perspective, Jaelen House played well in 2 games in the camp, but did not get invited to the NBA camp. This is the G League Elite camp. In his first game, he had 12 points, 6 for 8 field goals, 4 assists, 3 rebounds, and a steal in only 14 minutes. In the second game, he had 17 points, 7 of 11 from the field, 3 assists, 1 block, 1 steal, 24 minutes. Rick, you might seem a little bit more versed on this. Those are good numbers, man.
Yeah, he had strong showings in both games, and I did get to watch a little bit of both of them. He really was able to push the ball with his quickness and get by defenders to the rim a lot easier than I expected at this type of level of basketball. Was still disruptive, getting a steal in both games. I think it's just hard as a player in these type of games to play team basketball when you're trying to show your own, but then also trying to show the coaches that you can run the offense. So I think this is just one data point for these draft prospects, right? They're looking at their shooting numbers, their stats during the season, their performance during the combine, and this is just one more data point for Jaelen House that, in my eyes, really looked good for him because he was able to contribute multiple ways in this level of basketball. So I think it'll be interesting to see what he does in the NBA summer leagues coming up. There'll be one actually out here in the Bay Area coming up. I think it's called the Summer Classic, where they have 4 teams. And then the big one we know is in Las Vegas, where I think almost every team now has a summer league team. And I would expect him to be on one of those rosters. As far as not making the NBA combine, I wasn't really too surprised. What I was more surprised with is someone like Jaden Ledee not making it after he had a strong showing. I think he was voted the college power forward Karl Malone winner of the year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So, these guys still will have a shot to make the league. There's multiple avenues and paths to make it these days. So great showing by House. And I just wish him the best in Summer League coming up here.
Yes, Jaden Ledee won the Karl Malone Award. Karl Malone Power Forward of the Year Award. Given it out to since 2014, 2015. Montrezl Harrell, DeAndre Ayton, Georges Niang, Obi Toppin, Zion Williamson, Drew Timme. A lot of good names there. Trace Jackson Davis. A lot of really good names on there. Ed, before I get to you, I'm going to mention the JT Toppin thing. And we'll get to that. Hey, I have to give a shout out to my man.
Say hello to Miguel Sanchez.
Miguel Sanchez. If Toppin was 6'7" versus 6'9" measured by UNM, how tall is Mash and House? 6 and 5'11" on an eyeball scale. He was taller than everybody but Nilling and Forsling. We were undersized. They always lie on those things. I think they're always like an inch or two higher. Jeff Grammer wrote an article today too about JT Toppin's, the headline from the Albuquerque Journal, as I spit all over myself. Former Lobo JT Toppin has a big day at an NBA draft combine, not the NFL draft combine, NBA draft combine. Played in a scrimmage today at the NBA combine in Chicago. Bronny James was on his team. Apparently, I don't know, Bronny James is like the next coming of LeBron James. Toppin had 11 points on 5-11 from the field, 102 from 3, 10 rebounds, 19 minutes. Measured 6'7", 221 pounds with a 7 feet wingspan, 37-inch vertical, 5'10" standing reach. Before we get into that, Reed Shepherd, man. I think Reed Shepherd from Kentucky is going to be a very, very special player in the NBA. I don't know. His vertical was, I don't know, insane. Ed, I'm going to go to you on that. I think I have two questions for you. One, hey, UNM has 2 people in the draft combine, regardless if it's G League or NBA. That's another positive. I guess we're going to have to get into the controversy of the whole JT Toppin wingspan thing. But if there was a controversy there, I'm making that up. But your just thoughts on both of their performance, and I think for you, what it means for this program.
Well, the last you're right. It's been a while since we've had a pro. Tony Snell and Cameron Bairstow a little bit. So it's been a while. So I think it's good. Now, Jaelen House, I told you, my brother and I saw him playing that All-Star game at the Final Four. And he played very well. And he's continued that the progression at the G League camp. Rick's right. Those are solid numbers. The solid shooting numbers. I think he's shown the NBA scouts that he can run offenses. And I think Rick's absolutely right as far as the summer league. That's very key. He'll get on a roster. I think there was an article in the paper on Sunday and in the Journal that the trend is moving upwards in size, 6'5" and over now. You know, Minnesota's they did have the book written. Now all of a sudden, when they were up 2-0 in Denver, now it's 2-2 as far as the roster they put together. But that's what they're saying. The trend in the NBA is towards taller guys. So I don't know how much that hurts Jaelen House. He's going to have to show a lot. We talked about little guys. There's the Alvarado kid at New Orleans. That's a very good small player. We mentioned guys in the past.
I'm going to interrupt you there because that's my favorite nickname, Grand Theft Alvarado. Even though I really don't like him as a player. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, he's up. No, he's up. So I still think it's a steep climb to the NBA for Jaelen House. I really do. I hope he makes it. I want him to make it, but I think right now the performance at the G League camp has to put him on some radars. Like, hey, he did show some things here, but because of the height that he has, what is he, 6 feet? They listen, and Miguel's got a good question there. Maybe he is 5'11". So I think that still is going to be an issue, going forward with him. But you know what? Who's not going to root for him? Those numbers are very good. I saw him steal the ball and go in for a layup. So I think he's shown people that he can at least, let's see at the summer league level and see how he performs there. I think he'll be on a roster. As far as Toppin, I think, again, Miguel's got a good question there. They listed him at 6'9". Now they're saying he's, 6'7"? But so you're right about that too, Ryan. They do stretch that all the time about height. They give you 1 or 2 inches in height, and it's always, sometimes it's not true. So, but I think Toppin, he had a pretty good performance at the combine as well. And you said you mentioned him being on the team with Bronny James, and he's getting to see these. What did Ramon Sessions tell him? You need to practice against pros. You need to do this with pros. Well, he's getting it. He's getting his opportunity here. Do I think he's ready for the NBA? I don't. But maybe he had a pretty good showing, so you have to give him credit for that. And we expect Toppin to be in the NBA. Jaelen House, I'm not so sure. Maybe he gets in the G League, which isn't bad. It's a feeder to the NBA. But it's good to see both of them at least getting chances, to go to the next level.
And I think Toppin really showed out today. Even some national scouts were saying he was one of the top 3-4 players that showed out in this game, and possibly the only player with a double-double. So those tools that we've talked about, the rebounding, the defense, it's translating just like we expected. I think the spot where he wasn't too strong was in the shooting drills yesterday. He was probably in the lower half of that position in shooting, which we know is something, he's going to need to stretch if he's really only a 6'7" player, it's going to be tough for him to be effective in the post. But one thing that's never going to change is, his second jump and that explosion he has. And, things are really looking up for him after that showing. I think there's a second scrimmage. I'm not sure if it was this evening or if it's going to be tomorrow. The thing about the combine coverage that's so hard when you're watching these games is they're interviewing and talking about other player profiles while the game is going on, and they're not talking about the actual game on the court. So they talked about Bronny James for about 50% of the game without actually being able to sometimes see what was going on the court. So I wish they would change that, because
It's on NBA TV,
people
right?
are tuning in to watch the game. And it was on ESPN2 today for about 4 hours. And Mr. Bronny James, he physically looks the part, but his game still has a way to go. And I like how the analysts keep harping on, he's a defender, he's a great defender, and no one yet has been able to tell us what he can do offensively. So that will also be quite interesting to see where he ends up.
Yeah, I'm no X's and O's for me with basketball, as I repeatedly say. He did nothing for me at USC that I don't know why we're talking about him on here, but I am wearing a Barstool shirt. I am 50-50 on Barstool, Dave Portnoy's, whatever. I don't really care for him. I do like the Pardon My Take guys. And occasionally I really do like what they tweet out under their main account. And it was LeBron at the game last night. And it said LeBron leaving the Cavaliers game early to beat late traffic. I don't know. I don't know why I thought it was funny.
Oh man.
I think this is the most important part of Jeff Grammer's article that came out like 2 hours ago in the Albuquerque Journal. So it'll be in tomorrow's paper. You can read it online. That's why I'm not a print journalist anymore. God, hey, bad joke. I forgot I had these, by the way. Whoop, that was really loud. But yeah, there you go for my bad jokes. Should Toppin decide to return? Should Toppin decide he wants to return to college to play his sophomore season? He has until May 29th. I'm reading Jeff Grammer's article. Great. Fantastic radio here. He has until May 29th to withdraw from the NBA draft, which takes place on June 26th and 22nd. So that's big news, I think, because I still think there's an I guess they don't have any more scholarships. I guess there was an inkling of hope that he would come back here, but I guess he's not at all. Given today's transfer news. So, JT Toppin is no more at UNM. I think people were still holding out hope, and I realized I said that. So I was looking at Rick, and he was shaking his head. I thought it was, so it's on ESPN2, Rick?
Yes.
Okay. I thought it would have been on MTV,
I think
NBA TV.
The other part of Mr. Grammer's article that's kind of intriguing to me is they're saying that the Journal has learned from multiple sources that he's also being offered an NIL package from Texas near $1 million and also being recruited by Texas Tech hard. So it's kind of easy to see in my eyes, whether you want to think it was his agent or not, why he left. I don't think he would be making $1 million at New Mexico, and maybe they knew something we didn't. So I don't think you can be upset with him either way. He's either going to make it to the NBA or making a much larger paycheck, which any of us would probably do in our career. But great showing today, and happy to see what he'll do tomorrow.
When I was like 13 or 14 and I listened to Blink-182 and Sum 41, and you thought, oh man, they're sellouts, I'd like to punch my 14-year-old self in the face, because I cannot blame JT Toppin. And I know there's probably a lot of people, this isn't like a Steve Alford thing. And it goes to the Great Osobor thing, which we're going to touch on later. His dad is a custodian and his mom's a teacher. Of course, the kid's going to take $2 million to go to Washington. Like, that's life-changing money. I don't blame them. Jimmy Hester, St. John's afraid of Albuquerque. Yes, no, maybe. To some other news around the Mountain West Conference. Nevada will play in the 2024 Charleston Classic. Teams are Miami, Oklahoma State, Seton Hall, Florida Atlantic, and VCU. Very, very well done by Steve Alford. Ed, I'm going to go to you on that one, just to looking for a quick comment, because anytime we mention Nevada, by the way, our co-host, the analyst we have on, Jacob Neff, who knows everything. You can follow him on Twitter at NM Sportscap. He's at his cousin's graduation from the University of Nevada, Reno right now. He's in fabulous Reno, Nevada. As I said that to Rick Thompson. Ed, I'm going to ask you this, because when you hear that and it's Steve Alford doing the job there, I still think you can't disagree. He's Steve Alford doing Steve Alford things there. That's quite a lineup, and that's really good for them in non-conference.
You know what? Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think he's been there, what, 6 years now? How long has he been there? He's been there for a while.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's no. You know what? Whatever issues I had with Coach Alford. I mean, not issues. I just thought personally, I thought he was an arrogant guy here, but he was a great coach. He had, 30, we mentioned that. I told you that before, Ryan. 30-5 seasons. No Lobo coach won 30 games. It was 30-5 here. He was just about ready to take that next step with the program. Had they beat Harvard and advanced, Charles Barkley had them picked for the Final Four that year. They just never got there, and then he leaves to UCLA, and I thought the program here took several steps back when he left with Craig Neal and then Paul Weir. So give him credit. You mentioned he's doing Steve Alford things there. He's been successful there. So and you know what? You had him on. He was very gracious to you. I thought he was very gracious to you. So I kind of changed my mind a little bit about the way maybe his tenure ended here. But again, Rick, you mentioned who's going to turn down $1 million if you're JT Toppin. Or you're not going to turn that down. There's no way. And if you're Steve Alford, how are you going to turn down UCLA? There's no way you're going to turn down UCLA. So, hey, kudos to Coach Alford, man.
In other news around the conference, this is pretty impressive to me, Rick. I didn't see this today. Thank you for finding this. UNLV will play in the 2025 Maui Invitational. Baylor, NC State, Oregon, Seton Hall, Texas, USC. Obviously, Chaminade, as always. The Maui Invitational was created when Chaminade upset Virginia in like 1980 or 1981. That's per John Rothstein getting all the scoops. Per John Rothstein at CBS. That is quite an incredible lineup. I think that's really, really impressive. Good for them. I think this speaks a lot to the conference. I mean, I know it didn't have success in March this year. I mean, UNLV won 2 NIT games. So I think it's from a scheduling standpoint, moving forward, might not get as many teams in the tournament, but I definitely, speaking probably for everybody watching, it definitely helps. In Wyoming, Jeff Linder left for Texas Tech. Saw that news. Grant McCaslin, the head coach there, came from North Texas, played stellar defense. He joins the staff there. They've known each other for years, and I think they came up coaching together. So he joins the staff there. The new coach will be one of the best names ever, Sundance Wicks. He was at Green Bay. And also, I don't know if you guys saw this. I'm going to have to get to that comment. Doug Gottlieb took the job at Green Bay. University of Wisconsin, Green Bay. So very cool. I didn't have a chance to say hi to Doug Gottlieb at Mountain West Conference Media Day, but we did make eye contact when he was on live on his radio show live across from our table at Mountain West Conference Media Days. He knocked over like a Diet Coke and was on live, and he caught it and he looked at me and I was like, oh shit. So I'm sure that's not pleasant to do on live anything. And I try to do it here as I drink my water, but I'm going to go to this comment. Pure speculation. I heard UNM will open the season versus Florida on a neutral site. Sadie. That would be quite a opening game. Maybe I can do some digging to that, but right now it's just pure speculation. That's another NCAA tournament team, a very good team. Oh my goodness, what's his name? He coached at San Francisco, University of San Francisco, and he got them to the San Francisco to the Todd Golden. Got them to the tournament this year and got USF to the tournament 2 years ago. Got ousted in the first round. Colorado got him in that comeback. That was impressive. Again, I think Florida would be a good a good game to start off on a neutral course site. I'll see if I can't find anything. Grand Canyon was the perfect school for the Mountain West Conference. Huge fail, Jimmy. I'm sorry, I don't know what you're talking about there. We're gonna say
they joined a new conference. Now I'm drawing a blank.
they left the WAC.
Yeah.
Man, I am really missing the ball on everything here. What GCU and Seattle mean to West Coast Conference and that they say about Gonzaga's future.
West Conference.
Yeah, so
With
I don't know.
Gonzaga, St. Mary's, San Francisco.
Santa Clara. Grand Canyon negates Hawaii in football. All right, I'm going to know about that. Hey, speaking of football, we're going to come back, talk some Lobo football. We're going to take another quick commercial break. Again, thank everybody for watching. This is the Pit Press Live.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
Welcome back to the Pit Press Live. My name is Ryan Tamori. I'm your fat. Everybody loves me. Jimmy Hester loves me. GWade049 on Twitter loves me. Rick Thompson, Ed Nunez joining us. Happy to have you guys alongside. We're going to hit on Lobo football. This is again from Sean Ryder from the Journal. Former Campbell University running back Naquari Rogers committed to UNM on Sunday evening via post on social media. The 6-foot, 200-pound junior from Virginia Beach. Virginia is set to join the Lobos with 2 years of eligibility after ending their transfer portal in April. I love Campbell because they're the Fighting Camels. What a great nickname. In his 2 seasons with the Fighting Camels, Rogers rushed for 829 yards, 10 touchdowns, 25 receptions for 224 yards. He finished second on the team in rushing last season, 478 yards, and tied for the team lead in rushing touchdowns 6, despite only playing 8 games. Hey, that's pretty impressive. With former Campbell offensive line coach Famika Anai on staff, it didn't take long for UNM to show interest. Rogers is poised to compete with running backs Andrew Henry, Eli Sanders, Jevin Jacobs at position for it's always a deep running back room, regardless of the what you think of the program or the status of the program. He also represents the Lobos' fourth public commitment via the transfer portal, joining former BYU running back quarterback Saljay Maeva Peters, who was a quarterback during the New Mexico Bowl, I believe. Former West Virginia linebacker Tyreek Austin Cave, and former Texas Tech defensive back Cam Watts. Ed, I'll start with you there, or maybe I'll start with the offensive lineman. Does it make your does it? Man, I just thought about Kevin Gonzalez again. When I look at you, Rick, that's very weird for me to say because nobody knows the context of that. He was an awesome running back. He was like a fullback. But I'd say that's another good running back to land for UNM. I mean, at least it brings a couple of, like a double-edged sword or lightning and thunder. I don't know. I'll let you answer that.
Yeah, it does look like they have a lot of options now with Andrew Hendry, Eli Sanders, with transfer from Iowa State, and Javen Jacobs. I think they all bring a little something different to the table. I can't recall who had been reported. One of them had been lining up in the slot. So just deepening that position. It looks like Rodgers has been quite effective over his 2 seasons at Campbell. So it never hurts to have depth at the running back position, especially in this day and age where most teams go running back by committee. And, you know, as being the offensive lineman I was lucky enough to block for, as you mentioned, at St. Pius, Kevin Gonzalez, at the time, all-time leading rusher. And I'd like to think I had something to do with that, opening some holes. So I think for the Lobos, it's going to come down to offensive line play if these running backs are going to be effective or not. And last year, they really dominated the offensive line and ran the ball effectively the whole season. At this point, it doesn't look like the O-line has had much time to gel. And on the O-line, if you're not communicating, then there's going to be breakdowns. And if you don't know what the other guys on the O-line are doing, there's not going to be a lot of hope for you to get where you're supposed to go as a O-lineman, and there's no hope for the running back to find a hole if the other 5 guys up front aren't on the same page. So it's going to take some time for that O-line to gel, but they definitely have some talent in the backfield here, and I'm excited to see what all 4 of these guys can do.
Who else did you block for? Andrew Talbot,
Zach Paget, Jesse Herrera, Steve Sanchez, Mike Byrne, Sean Sullivan, lots of good young gentlemen.
lots of friends. Ed, just your thoughts on, you know, this is a mystery. We're going to get into our main topic on UNM football. I mean, at least it's a good running back. That seems to be some positive news coming out of the Lobo football program.
We mentioned the depth that they had last year. They had a lot of depth. Rick, you know more about offensive linemen than anyone. They did say they had settled on a unit during the spring. They lost all their offensive linemen last year, and that offensive lineman sprung Ja'Cory Krosky merit for some good yards. You know, again, Rick, about how important that line is. You mentioned the communication, the trust. I'm only speaking, you know, somebody that's watched it. I never played it. But the line is, you know, when they lost all 5 offensive linemen, I thought, you know, it's going to be tough to rebuild from. I think one of the things we're missing here, though, I like that addition. I think the running back room is pretty solid. The RPOs, you know, that Dan Pierre, who's a different quarterback than Dylan Hopkins was, dynamic, they said, right? Fast. So I think that's something, you know, that's going to. There's going to be a lot of. You mentioned, Rick, one of the running backs in the spring was in the slot. There are a lot of pre-snap motion, they said. So this is going to be a different offense. But you got to – one thing you guys are going to laugh. Okay, so former Sandia head football coach Jim Ottman, who's about 79, 80, he's my color commentator for ProView Networks. Coach Ottman's he's a Hall of Famer, man. Hall of Fame guy, New Mexico Sports Hall of Famer. No matter what he says, you'll see quads to the right, all these formations. And his comment is always, well, you got to block and tackle, man. You got to block and tackle. You got to have the fundamentals. So no matter who's in your running back room or who's the quarterback or what kind of offense you're going to run, you got to have the guys up front to be able to make Rick, you mentioned the guys you block for on Sean Sullivan. Heck, played in the state basketball tournament on dang torn ACL, man. I couldn't believe that, you know. And Coach Segura told me about it. Put him through some severe tests, stress tests, man. He goes, I'm not going to put that dude out there unless he can play. That guy must have been one heck of a player. But you know about the continuity on the line. I'm excited, though, because, again, what Sean Ryder has said in his articles, the attention to detail. He said it in every article he's written, the attention to detail on the coaching side. So I'm thinking of Coach Mendenhall, who's won at Virginia, who's won at BYU, went to 10 bowl games, is paying attention to the offensive line, the defensive line. It's going to be, well, we're going to get into the wins and what people are predicting later. But I'm looking forward to it because just reading about the offense in the spring, there's going to be a lot of, you know, different movements and I think this running back here that they added will add depth. I mean, his stats don't jump out on you. I read them twice and like, okay, they're pedestrian stats, but they're you know, he put some numbers up, not great, but I think he's going to help. I really do. So that gives them some more depth and step in the right direction.
And one other thing that I don't think many people are thinking about just because of all the talk around Devin Dampier. But one thing I'm looking at is for that BYU transfer Sol J. Mavia Peters, who played under Coach Mendenhall before, to kind of possibly push Dampier in the quarterback battle and maybe give him a run. We don't know what this guy really brings. He was the most valuable player of the New Mexico Bowl, already played under the coach, so he might have a step up in the offense. We don't know. And he's only been there a handful of weeks, I believe. So that's something that might take form over the next few months here in my eyes.
I learned something new today. During the not during the offseason, but the end of last year, Bronco Mendenhall did a podcast called Head Coach U, HCU, with Bronco Mendenhall, and the C's horseshoe. Very clever. He talked to Lincoln Riley. He talked to David Cutcliffe, former Duke and Ole Miss head coach David Cutcliffe. Phenomenal coach, turning around. Washington State head coach Jake Diekert. Arizona now Washington head coach Jed Fish. He talked to Brian Harsin. I don't know why. He must know him. And then on November 8th, if you look at it, I'm looking at Apple Podcasts on my Samsung Galaxy 24 Ultra. On November 8th, 2023, he had Gloria Navarez on, who is the Mountain West Conference Commissioner. And that is the last episode. I know it's May of 2024. He was hired in December of 2023. I find that very, very fascinating after the fact. Speaking of Bronco Mendenhall, his Lobo football team, and what we're going to get into now. Sean Ryder posted this as well. Rick, you found this. UNM football over under win total. All these are coming out now. It's fantastic. And we saw the line for the opening NFL game. Can't wait. I don't have that soundbite pulled up, Bart Scott.
Can't wait.
Yeah, thank you for doing that. I'll have to pull that up. Edit it. So release for the Mountain West Conference, obviously. This is per FanDuel Sportsbook. Boise State is 8.5. Boise State is predicted to go to the college football playoff. Can't wait for that either. Fresno State 7.5. UNLV 7.5. Colorado State 6.5. Wyoming 6.5. Air Force 5.5. Utah State 5.5. San Jose 5.5. San Jose State 5.5. Hawaii 4.5. San Diego State 4.5. Nevada 2.5. Once again, not good radio to do it, but I read all of them because UNM comes in dead last, predicted to win a game and a half. Ed, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I just want your thoughts first, and then I'll get Rick, and then I'll give my thoughts. When you hear that, now obviously doesn't mean anything, but it's incredibly fascinating to me. And Vegas knows what they're doing. So I just wanted your thoughts when you hear that over the game, over win or loss, over a game and a half wins.
Well, you know, they win 4 last year? Did they win 4?
Yeah.
Okay, they won 4. Now they've got a new coach, a whole new system, and this is a program that hasn't won 6 games in how long? It's been what since Bob Davie left? Since that long? I think it's been a very long time since they won more than 5 or 6 games. Very long time. It's no surprise. It's no surprise at all that would be the prediction. I think, Rick, you mentioned their early season schedule. It's it's not easy. They got Montana State here to open the season. You know, and Montana State is no joke either. You know, it's at the I think they're the FCS. I think they're the FCS level, but they've been pretty good. But Arizona, Auburn, New Mexico State, they've got a really tough schedule. So you know, I'm hoping they win 4 or 5. Now, remember, I'm the glass half full guy, but not a Pollyanna that says, hey, they're going to win every game because I know better. So, yeah, it's a little deflating, but I'm still, again, no matter what, I'm going to say let's give him a chance. Let's give Coach Mendenhall a chance. There's a reason they hired him here. He's a winner. He's a proven winner. Maybe we don't see it this year. Maybe they win 3 games and he builds 3, 5, 7. Hopefully, that's what I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to. But there's no surprise that would be a prediction, considering the past the past history of this program, which hasn't been good for a long time. So I'm not surprised. A little upset about it when I see 1.5. I'm like, how in the heck do you win 1.5 games, man? But yeah, so no, I'm not surprised at all that would be the prediction. They lost their, they're coming, with the new coach in here, and they've cleaned house. And there's a lot of questions about the Lobos still, so they won't be answered until the season starts.
One thing to piggyback off, I don't know how to use any Apple products, but if you click 10 more episodes, Bronco Mendenhall, this podcast is pretty impressive. He did have Andy Reid. I got to give Sadie here credit as a guest. He did this podcast, I guess, man, probably the entire time he was hired. He was not being a head coach. And there's some impressive names on here. What bowl season is really like? Yep. Yeah, you had tons of guys on. That's very awesome. I did not know that. I'm going to have to probably give that a listen. Rick, I will get your thoughts on that. Sorry to get off topic there. I didn't realize it was that many more episodes, so I apologize.
I don't think it's surprising when you look at the schedule. It's hard to pick out a lot of wins other than maybe Montana State, possibly New Mexico State, possibly San Diego State. And unfortunately, New Mexico doesn't play the other probably worst team in Nevada this year. So it's kind of a trip back to reality here. We've been kind of just hearing all good news about the Lobos for the last few months, but when you look at the reality of the situation, it's probably going to be a terrible season as far as wins and losses are concerned when you look at it that way. So the hope is that they're building on something that can be better moving forward. And like we mentioned before, Mendenhall's first season at Virginia, I believe he was 2-8 and then turned it around quickly. So I wouldn't be surprised to see possibly a 1 or 2 win season. Obviously, Vegas knows what they're doing. They do their research so they can make their money. But hopefully next year the things will turn more on the winning side. But I think this year is going to be quite a bit of pain.
You'll appreciate this, Ed. I'm sorry. Steve Alford uses his hair to clean up offshore oil slicks. Not to go off topic there. Here's the UNM football schedule. And again, not good radio. I'm listing things. Week 0, August 24th. So we get a extra special early look at the UNM football team. I have a feeling if anything is relayed back to Bronco Mendenhall and these coaches staff, probably, in a year I'll be eating my words. But I use FBSschedules.com. By the way, UNM is at Michigan next year, which hopefully my friend at the Detroit Free Press is very fantastic photographer, Junfu Han, who was at the national championship game, the Rose Bowl. He is very keen on me going to the Michigan game in 2025, if there's still a planet left. Saturday, August 24th, Montana State at Arizona. It says number 11 Arizona. I'm guessing that's last year's ranking. I know they finished pretty high. But anyway, Arizona, they get off September. That's Labor Day weekend. They get off September 7th at Auburn, Fresno State, at New Mexico State, off Air Force, at Utah State, at Colorado State, Wyoming, at San Diego State, Washington State. They travel to Hawaii the week after the weekend of Thanksgiving, and that is how they end their campaign. Man, I think I don't think I find it pretty impressive that Vegas gave them a game and a half. Usually I don't think Jacob was on with us. I think they're usually kind of give them 2.5 games. Last year it was 2.5. They did that. They won, or it was 3.5. They got the win total over. Thanks to Fresno State. But a game and a half is brutal. And Bronco Mendenhall's first season at BYU was 6-6. Now this is comparing probably apples and oranges. But his first year at Virginia, 2016, was 2-10. And again, 2019, they went 9-5, finished first in the Coastal Division, and they beat Virginia. He beat Virginia Tech for the first time in forever. I think we've already mentioned that. But yeah, I think it's I don't. It's too early. Things could be different. Could they pull a Utah State basketball right out of their butt and shock everybody and win games? They certainly can. I think it's going to be pretty unimpressive. the first year. I think I will say what a lot of people, UNM alumni fans, will say. They probably really don't care how the first year goes. Just beat New Mexico State. I think that's probably where it's at, going down there and avenging what Jerry Kill had done, and beating UNM back-to-back years, one here in Albuquerque and Diego Pavia. I forgot about that. What an eventful year for New Mexico State. But yeah, I think 1.5. I'm not trying to put words in Jacob's Neff's mouth. I wish he was here. I think he said he would probably take the under. Looking at the schedule, I'd have to see the odds and the juice you pay on it. I think they can beat Montana State, and I think they can beat New Mexico State. As hard as it is to go probably 12-0, it's just as hard to go 1-11. Mike Loxley also found a way to do that twice. So, that's not here nor there. I will go to Miguel Sanchez one more time, as he's got a comment about NIL. And I have to do it for you, man. I'm sorry.
Say hello to Miguel Sanchez.
UNM is a relatively low NIL budget, no tradition, and struggling to recruit its backyard. Bronco can improve competitiveness, but the lack of depth kills the second half of the season. Ceiling is 3. I'd probably say you're right. I think they could. I think they can figure out how to beat Montana State. I think they can figure out how to beat New Mexico State. Nothing. Usually I don't care, but nothing would make me happier than to see to shut some of the NMSU trolls up. Because I think they're worse. I mean, every fan base is terrible, but I think they've got from what I've seen, some of the worst. And I even had somebody comment to me from somebody around the Mountain West Conference that I know. He's like, holy hell, New Mexico State fans are crazy. Then they represent this area well. So we hope that you listen too. And I know there's John Romero, but anyway, one of the last things we wanted to get into, and I know it's a little bit of a, we're going back to basketball, but it's more NIL talk. And that's Great Osobor, the Mountain West Conference Player of the Year, voted by the media, I believe. I think Ledee got the coaches voted Osobor, and I think Ledee got the media. I still don't understand that to this day. So Great Osobor is joining Danny Sprinkle as former head coach at Montana State and at Utah State. And he entered the transfer portal and is joining him at Washington. I think he was projected to be like a late first-round pick or second-round pick in the NBA draft. He's foregoing that. He's going to the University of Washington in Seattle. And he is set to make an NIL money in agreements the highest known valuation in college basketball for the upcoming season, with $2 million. This is according to a document reviewed by ESPN, and the gentleman who reported it was Jonathan Givnoy. I hope I pronounced that right. He's an NBA draft expert and the founder and co-owner of draftexpert.com, and it's a private scouting analytics service used by the NBA, NCAA, and international teams. So free publicity for them, for the 184 people that are watching us right now. $2 million that will include marketing assurances that were negotiated by his agent, George Landberg of GSL Sports. I've heard of them before. Couldn't tell you what I know about them. Again, this is Osobor coming off 17.7 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, almost 3 assists, a block and a steal. He helped Utah State clinch their first outright Mountain West Conference title ever, regular season championship. Kind of mentioned it earlier, and I'll let you guys give your thoughts on it as well. I'm more kudos to the players. Rick, you and I follow a gentleman by the name of Coach Jason Brown, who was on Last Chance U, and I think he hates this shit. He hates the unloyalty. This is life-changing money. I don't, when the coaches can leave, and I like Jason Brown, but it's, I just always see him, and I always think about him when I see the NIL stuff. But I think it's the Ed O'Banion thing. If you look at the cover of NCAA football, and I don't understand NIL. I mean, I do understand NIL. I fully don't understand it. You need a lawyer. It's the Wild West. And I think somebody has quoted it saying the Wild West, just not me. I think it's more kudos to the players. I think and this isn't like some PC comment, I just feel like what the student athletes do for the school, they most certainly deserve to make something. What they do and the amount of hours they put in. I mean, does it probably affect their education? Yes. I mean, that's the primary. That's where I will stop. It's the primary reason for going to college. And I can't believe I'm going to use this as a reference. There was once a show on God rest in rest in peace, Spike TV. Was a show called Blue Mountain State, and I remember seeing the trailer for it, and I thought this show looks stupid. Somebody said, you need to give it a chance, with your background and being a big sports fan, and I was like, okay. And I watched it, and it was actually pretty funny. And towards the end of the series, before it got canceled, they did a huge. It's about a college football school, and everything's under the comical bad side of college sports and college football. And they actually, the last 2 episodes, do a really good satirical job of really exploiting the NCAA and how you could have somebody, like a donor could give you a bagel, but you couldn't get cream cheese on the bagel. Like, it was pretty funny. And I always think about that when I hear NIL. I'm rambling and I apologize. I think this is unnecessarily, I don't want to say it's unprecedented for what we're doing, that you would find the Mountain West Conference the Mountain West Conference Player of the Year getting this kind of NIL money at a now Big Ten school. I think it's kudos to him. I think it's a job well done by his agent. And again, there was something in here, and I can't find it. Where is it? Here it is. Osobor, whose father is a taxi driver and a mother is a caregiver for elderly clients. That's life-changing money for them. I don't know if he's an only child or not, but I think that's pretty awesome. I'm sorry for that long-winded talk there. Rick, I'll start with you on that, and if you just have any feelings on that.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing is a whole new world evolving, right? And an opportunity for these players that are very good at the college level, but not good enough to be a professional, are able to now make money at the college level. And players like Armando Bacot at North Carolina and Caleb Love, who left North Carolina to go to Arizona. These guys who play 4 and 5 years are great in college, but they know they're not going to probably have the opportunity to make this type of money in the pros. So why not transfer and see what else you can take? And I think it's great for these guys to be able to make this money. They're never going to have this opportunity again, probably in their lives. And when I look at Osobor, his game really isn't an NBA game. With what he is, I think he's 6'9", maybe at the tallest, and not a consistent jump shooter, and that really doesn't translate in the NBA anymore. So I think his decision to stay obviously is paying off. I think the fact that Washington and Danny Sprinkle really haven't signed any big name transfers yet are also part of maybe why they have so much money to spend. But I think this just shows why Toppin might be getting offered around $1 million. I'd much rather have Toppin than Osobor on my roster for that price tag. But Ed, do you have any other thoughts on?
I think when you see that $2 million, you're wondering, I'm with you on that, Rick. You're wondering what JT Toppin would get, and you're wondering, where does this end? Okay, he got $2 million. Is the next guy going to get $3 million or $2.5 million? But again, what you said too, good for him. You both said that. That's life-changing money. Maybe he doesn't make the NBA. And for the Lobo fan that might be mad at Toppin for leaving, and Mackenzie Bishop, he's part of the NIL and the 505. I could tell, he's a little upset about it, but anybody else would do the same thing. You especially, you mentioned the background on Osobor, Ryan, and Toppin's parents. They're not making that kind of money. $2 million. It's like, geez, that's great. But I looked and some of the things that we said last week on the show, collective bargaining, unions, sounded like pro ball players to me, man. It's starting to sound like that. And I guess my question is, where does it end? Where does it stop? Is there going to be some regulating on this? And I'm not begrudging players making money at all. You mentioned Ed O'Bannon, Ryan. That started the snowball effect, right? The them using his image and likeness and him suing successfully. Chris Webber, couldn't even get money for Taco Bell back in Michigan back in the day when they're selling his jersey in the library. So I have no problem with the players making the money, no problem at all. But it raised my eyebrows when I was like, $2 million. Wow. So yes, JT Toppin should be at 1 or 1.5 million for sure. And nobody could blame him. He's not going to get that here. Who's going to blame him if he gets that kind of money or makes the pros? Good for him. You got to take the money when you can get it. If they're offering it out there, people might say it's too much, but if someone's going to pay it, are you going to say no to that kind of money? Life-changing money? I don't think you will. So good for Osobor. And I just think this is even the tournament that the NIL tournament in Las Vegas. That's imagine how the NCAA, who ruled with an iron fist for years, and now they're just like they don't even exist, man. They got nothing to say, nothing. It's everything's flipped. It's interesting to me. But hey, great for Osobor, and that's his name too, isn't it? Great Osobor.
Yep.
No pun intended. But I think it's good. It's good for the players. It did raise my eyebrows a little bit. I was like, gosh, $2 million. But good for him. And there's going to be more of that, a lot more, depending on how much NIL money people have.
I think I read in that article that if he did go to the NBA, I think it was like, I don't know, he would have made equivalent to that or something. I don't know. I'm probably making that up, but
he would not be a first rounder. Second
No.
round picks are not guaranteed money, and I don't think it's as high as 2 million a year.
I just don't understand why you would, you would turn down, like, especially if he's not an NBA player, and he probably wouldn't make that overseas. Well, he'd make really good money overseas. I don't think he'd be seeing $2 million. So I don't know, more. I don't know what it's like to live in Washington. I don't know what the cost of living is in Seattle. I'm sure it's expensive, but I don't know. More power to him. I think it's pretty impressive. And he's not in the Mountain West Conference anymore, Lobo fan. So there you go. Final thing, UNM golf. The men's golf tournament played Tuesday in the 2024 NCAA Regional in West Lafayette. And then the second round is at I can't even read that, community college. Anyway, they're at Purdue University. The Lobos shot 5 under during the second round to move up one spot to fourth place at 3 under after 36 holes at the event. The top 5 teams at the regional will advance to the NCAA championship. Top seeded Vanderbilt continues to lead the tournament with a score of 1 under through 36 holes. Host Purdue is the second at 15 under. Holy moly. When Arizona is 9 under, UNM is fourth at 3 under. Hey, that's pretty impressive. 1 shot under ahead of Purdue. Mississippi State is 2 over, putting the Lobos 5 shots ahead and the cut line for the final round. So that's pretty impressive. Again, I don't see much coverage of it, but UNM golf and UNM tennis, I know UNM men's golf and UNM women's tennis had a fantastic year. Does anybody have any final thoughts on anything before we shut this thing down for May 14th? Ed, I'll start with you.
No, you know what? I just another great show, and again, I think the signing of Sacco,
Sacco, yeah.
Sacco. I think it's not only that, he has a 7-foot wingspan. I think I read. So I think it's a great signing for New Mexico. I know that the Lobo football program, it's something that we're looking at. Like it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough season, and it probably will be. That said, I'm still looking forward to the improvement. I think Donovan Dampier, the dynamic quarterback, Sean Ryder said, their defense, the linebackers, and they've got to get all those things in order. But I'm still looking forward to it. I know they said they're only going to win 1.5 games. I'm going to probably watch and listen as many as I can. So I always look forward to talking sports with you guys, man. I really look forward to it. I thought it was another good show. And again, thanks to all the people that are listening and watching and commenting. Without them, we're nothing. So thanks to them.
I will go to this, Gabriel Jaramillo. I thought this was interesting. What was Patino's first year expectation? I misread that when I first saw it. Ed, I think it was just to try to just try to rebuild the program, right? I mean,
In that regard,
Hitter.
he bought Mash with him, right? And then he got House to transfer. So, right away
Yeah.
he got some players here, and but you're coming off Paul Weir, and Coach Weir, bless his heart, nice guy, really liked Coach Weir as a person. He had some talent on that roster, but man, talk about some self-destructive attitudes. Oh man. Oh, some of the players he had on that roster just were not, very undisciplined and unfocused. So I think Coach Pitino's, that was his goal, to try to rebuild. You know what? Let's give him credit. Let's give him a lot of credit. He won the Mountain West Conference tournament, got him back in the NCAA tournament after they hadn't been there since 2014. So to your point and to your question, I think that was his goal, is just to try to start rebuilding slowly. And he did. Give him credit.
They beat Paul Weir was fired in 2021. And I think the fact that, if I remember correctly, Pitino beat Wyoming when they were top 25 in the 2021-2022 season. And they kind of gave Colorado State a hard time in the first half with David Roddy and Isaiah Stevens. And I think that was kind of the changing of the guard. I think you could see the potential. I mean, I think it was just anything better than what Paul Weir had, because they basically gave up on the season. They were tired of playing out of state with the COVID restrictions, again, which were pretty stupid. I don't want to get political because I don't lean that way, but it was just like I think they really did a disservice to those kids.
I think that hurt Danny Gonzalez too in the football program.
I did,
that hurt Coach Gonzalez. And remember what Coach Gonzalez said to us, Ryan, last year, that they weren't able to lift more than 50 pounds or 25 pounds. They didn't have the weights that they needed. So you can't really build a program like that. So those restrictions definitely hurt the football program as well.
And then one last comment. John Romero, Aggie's looking forward to the challenge with UNM football. Bronco is a legend, no doubt about it. Has ultimate respect from down south and everywhere else. Rick, any final thoughts?
Just that I saw that former Aggie Diego Pavia is hosting a football camp in Albuquerque soon, so people should check that out.
Do you learn how to piss in the toilet? Does he teach you proper bathroom etiquette? Probably struck a lot of wrong chords with that. That's that's pretty funny. As I always tell people, thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. We come to you live every Tuesday, Thursday, 8 o'clock Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Mountain Time, YouTube X, sometimes on Instagram. I don't know what's going on with that, but we're always on YouTube and X. And you can find it right after, and then we repost it the next day, the last episode. We're steamrolling towards summer. Thursday night, I'm trying to think of what we can talk about. Don't want to go ahead of ourselves. I think maybe more NIL. We've kind of beaten that to the death, but again, it's ever changing, and I think there's always something new to learn about it, because Zach Edey didn't make any NIL money because he's Canadian, and then Great Osobor, who is pursuing, I didn't even touch on that, because he's pursuing his U.S. citizenship, is able to attain that NIL money. So I mean, again, that to me is, there's like the gray line there that I don't understand, but I get it. It's just very
one last thought I have on that.
Go ahead.
Since it seems like the NIL of UNM should now be in abundance with not having to pay out Toppin, let's give Bella Hines a new offer to come to UNM instead of LSU, and let's get that out there quickly. We still have over a year for her before she goes to LSU. If we give her all the money in the NIL, we can get her.
give her all the money. Ed, you've seen her play.
Yes, several times, and my son and I had her on Road to the Pit. She can score with the best of them. She can score three ways. Gets to the basket, free throw line, threes. The LSU's got a good player there, and she's got another year. She's playing summer ball now on the AAU circuit, and her parents have posted some highlights. And she's got some signed with LSU. This exciting moment for her and for New Mexico. It's saying that, hey, athlete here got an offer from one of the best women's programs in the nation. So she's still working on her game. I'll tell you one thing: she gets up 500 shots, I think, every day, man. In fact, Jay Hill, a friend of mine that trains her, has to tell her sometimes, hey, take some time off. She puts in that kind of work. So
Wow.
she's looking forward to seeing her one more year and then seeing her at LSU.
Rick, I'm on board with that. I don't think.
Let's start tampering.
Yeah. Where she go to? I'm not going to go there. She goes to El Dorado. We can figure out how to do that. That's a good shirt. We should make it. Never too early to start tampering. Just last comments. Eric Markham, I hope I said it right there. Great show, guys. Jimmy Hester agreed. Good show. We appreciate that. As I said, check us out on our Instagram page, which is, whoops, I deleted it, but it's at the Pit Press NM. Follow us on Twitter if you haven't. It's the Pit Press NM. Visit our website, which looks fantastic. We need to update it. I need to do some more work, hopefully towards football season. If Bronco Mendenhall will talk to anybody, visit us there. Again, I always thank people, try to make this quick and to the point. I always, regardless of the comments, we appreciate you watching. We've had some really good live shows since we started doing this. A lot more people turn out than I had ever thought. I thought we'd have like 10 people watching. So really appreciate it. I can only imagine it can gear up towards football season. The Mountain West Conference Football Media Days are in July. I went last year. It's something I'd never done. I'd covered, an NCAA tournament, the Mountain West Conference tournament in Vegas. Hopefully be going back to that this year, and then the conference tournament, conference basketball media days, which was with the West Coast Conference last year, is pretty awesome. So, those are the things we're trying to do. Again, it's a dead time of year. So as I mentioned, God bless the fact that we've had late breaking news with transfers every Tuesday and Thursday since we've been trying to do this. We've had Mackenzie Bishop on. I'm going to reach back out to Drew Herrig of 505 Sports Venture Foundation. He's Kurt Ross' right-hand man, to see if he'll come on. He's joined us before. I know we're going to have Kevin Sweeney. We had him on a year ago. He's also been on Jeff Kramer's podcast. We're going to have Kevin Sweeney on from Sports Illustrated, I think, or whatever that is anymore. Again, I don't follow that, but he's on the field of 68 with Jeff Goodman and Rob Douster and my main man, John Fanta, who the Seton Hall fans alumni hate. But I love me some John Fanta. He's so enthusiastic. So anyway, just a quick rundown, not trying to ramble. We appreciate it. Again, probably closer towards August, we'll be, the road to the pit will be back in full swing. And I don't think you guys are going to be limited to just basketball. You might talk some other high school sports, but obviously with the name like Road to the Pit, you're talking high school athletics. I'm trying to do my own show. It's been in talk for a long time and haven't done that. So we're building up this media network, hopefully having some Aggie coverage come to you. We are just not, again, UNM. This is something that is meant for all sports here in New Mexico. And I know Adam Dillon United very well. And Forrest Stulting, the Isotopes has always been pretty cool to me. I don't think anybody, I enjoy baseball. I don't know how many people out there want to talk baseball prospects, but anyway, hey, we'll be back with you Thursday. My name's Ryan Tamori. This is the Pit Press Live on behalf of Rick Thompson and Ed Nunez. We appreciate you watching. We will see you on Thursday.